The emotional story of Abraham Lincoln, the man who was born in darkness and illuminated a nation. On a cold morning, February 12, 1809, in a small log cabin deep in the Kentucky wilderness, a boy was born who would one day change the destiny of a nation. His name was Abraham Lincoln. There was no luxury, not even comfort. The cracks between the cabin's logs let the wind pass through. The fire barely warmed the room, and the cradle was made by his father's hands. Yet within that poverty, something powerful was born, the strength of a man destined to face the darkness of injustice. From his earliest years, Lincoln knew the hardships of life. His father, Thomas Lincoln, was a woodcutter and farmer struggling to feed his family. His mother, Nancy Hanks Lincoln, a gentle and devout woman, taught him his first letters and the love of truth. It was she who planted in Abraham the seeds of compassion and moral conviction. But fate was cruel. When he was only 9 years old, Nancy fell gravely ill and died. Lincoln was devastated. He would remember that day for the rest of his life. Alone, he wandered through the forest, sitting on fallen logs, gazing at the sky and asking God why. That was the first great wound of his life, and the first moment he began building the strength that would later make him immortal. With no schools nearby, Lincoln learned to read almost entirely on his own. He borrowed books from neighbors, read by the dim light of the fireplace, and memorized long passages from the Bible and Shakespeare. Every word he read was a step up the ladder that would lift him out of poverty. He once said, "My best friend is the man who'll get me a book I ain't read." In his youth, Lincoln worked as a rail splitter, a ferryman and a store clerk. He carried logs, rode through dangerous rivers, endured cold and hunger. He was tall and thin, with a somber expression and slow movements, but there was something about him, a quiet kindness, a deep soul, a sense of justice that made him stand apart. Over time, Abraham became fascinated with law. With no money for formal education, he studied law on his own. Using worn-out books and handwritten notes, he spent sleepless nights reading until he finally passed the bar exam. Thus was born the lawyer of the people, known for defending the poor without charging a cent. In the small town of Springfield, Illinois, Lincoln earned a reputation for honesty. His word was worth more than any contract. People used to say, "If Lincoln's in it, it's fair." Yet even amid success, a deep sadness lived in him. He was introspective, often falling into long silences. It was said that his soul carried the pain of others. And he saw much pain, poverty, inequality, and slavery. When he met Mary Todd, an educated and ambitious young woman, Abraham fell in love. They married in 1842. Their relationship was turbulent but deeply emotional. They had 4 sons, but tragedy struck again. 3 died young. Each loss tore him apart, but it also deepened his empathy for the suffering of others, the same suffering he vowed to ease. Meanwhile, America was tearing itself apart. The nation was divided. The industrial North opposed slavery, while the agrarian South depended on it. It was a moral wound, festering for decades. Lincoln saw it clearly and declared, "No man is good enough to govern another man without the other's consent." He entered politics driven by this conviction. For years, he suffered humiliating defeats, losing elections for the state legislature, for Congress, and for the Senate. Many mocked him, saying he'd never succeed. But Lincoln never gave up. Each defeat was a lesson, each obstacle a test of faith. Then, in 1860, the impossible happened. Abraham Lincoln was elected President of the United States. He was the first president to rise from such humble beginnings, but his election ignited the fuse of war. Even before his inauguration, 7 southern states declared secession. The American Civil War, the bloodiest conflict in U.S. history, had begun. For 4 years, Lincoln led a nation in pieces. He watched young men die, cities burn, families torn apart. Every decision weighed heavily on him. Many nights, he wept alone in his office. But each morning he rose again and said, "With firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in." In 1863, he signed the document that would change human history forever, the Emancipation Proclamation, freeing enslaved people in the Confederate States. It was an act of moral courage beyond measure. When warned that it would make him hated, Lincoln replied, "If my name ever goes into history, it will be for this act, and my soul will be content." That same year, on the battlefield of Gettysburg, where thousands had fallen, Lincoln delivered one of the most powerful speeches in history. Only 272 words long, but every one of them eternal. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. The war finally ended in 1865. The Union had prevailed. Slavery was abolished. Lincoln, exhausted and aged beyond his years, began dreaming of a healed America. He spoke of forgiveness, of unity, of rebuilding. With malice toward none, with charity for all, let us strive to bind up the nation's wounds. But fate, once more, was merciless. On the night of April 14, 1865, just 5 days after the war's end, Lincoln went to Ford's Theater in Washington to watch a comedy. While he laughed beside his wife, the actor John Wilkes Booth, a Confederate sympathizer, entered his box and shot him in the head. Lincoln did not die instantly. He was carried to a nearby house where he lay unconscious until dawn. At 7:22 a.m., April 15, 1865, Abraham Lincoln drew his last breath. A soldier standing beside him whispered through tears, "Now he belongs to the ages." And so ended the life of a man who had been born in poverty, who had lost his mother, his children, his friends, who faced hatred, war, and despair, yet never yielded to bitterness. He became immortal not through the sword, but through compassion. Lincoln proved that true greatness is born not of privilege, but of principle. That freedom is worth more than power. That a single honest man can change the fate of millions. Today, his statue sits in solemn silence at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Those who stand before it can feel his presence, calm, resolute, understanding of human pain. His legacy continues to echo through time in the words that defined his life. Whenever I hear anyone arguing for slavery, I feel a strong impulse to see it tried on him personally. The best way to predict your future is to create it. I am not bound to win, but I am bound to be true. I'm not bound to succeed, but I'm bound to live by the light that I have. Abraham Lincoln was not merely a president. He was living proof that greatness can rise from humility, that justice can spring from compassion, and that even the simplest man can become a beacon of hope in the darkest of times. His body rests, but his spirit continues to inspire the world, reminding us every day that courage and kindness remain the most powerful weapons a human being can wield.